Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Helen Marley, and this afternoon I'm going to talk to you about how to teach students to play with a crispy, short staccato sound. There are so many different staccato sounds that are available to us at the piano, but I'm going to share with you the very basic staccato touch release. So we want our students to remember when they drop to the bottom of the key, their hand, their wrist, and their forearm moves as one. And you'll notice once they play the key, these three parts of their playing apparatus also move as one back up. So there's a nice little piece in Succeeding at the Piano grade 1A called the Woodpecker. And as they play these staccato notes, they'll have this great feeling of economy of motion. And the very last measure of the line, the students play an open fifth interval. They can feel that nice strong bridge, and they can also feel that the fingers that are not in use when they're playing that fifth interval are just resting on the white keys. Same thing with the left hand. Let's definitely remind our students to play on the outside tip of their thumbnail. Look at their four little hills for their knuckles, and also ask them what kind of sound did they just create. So now I'd like to play for you a piece called Hey Little Woodpecker, and this one is in the same book. And we'll notice here that's the first line of the piece. We want to make sure that our students are not playing with locked wrists. We also don't want them to grip or squeeze their fingers together like this when they're playing staccato. So this would not be good. It's so tight, I'm practically playing right on my fingernails, which is not a good idea. And I'm getting really tight underneath my wrist. So let's have our students remember that their wrist is flexible. It can move down and around, just like forming a smiley face. Their wrist can move towards the right. It can move around like it's going over a hill. So the wrist goes in an oval motion, and this is what we want our students to think about when they're playing something like Hey Little Woodpecker. So that first staccato is definitely an up motion, and the students will notice that if they shift their weight towards their fifth finger, it will be easy to spring up. Then the students transfer their weight or shift their weight to their thumb and their third fingers, and those are nice and light and also nice up motions. So you notice I'm transferring my weight from the top of my hand to the bottom of my hand. And then this next line, or I should say the next phrase, how do I get that to be a beautiful phrase, shaped so nicely? So it's all in the wrist. So I transfer or shift my weight so that when I'm playing my second finger, my weight is directly supporting my second finger. When I play my third finger, the weight is directly behind my third finger. And then when I play my fourth and fifth fingers, I'm shifting my weight again. So if I played it with making sure that my wrist was really tight and locked, do you see the difference, and do you hear the difference? These curly fingers are not good for a student to use at all. So we always want to make sure our students learn technique in a natural and healthy way. And this is what they do in Succeeding at the Piano from the very first lessons. So now I'd like to play for you a piece from the preparatory level of Festival Collection. This is called The Lively Boy by Turk. And here we have a two-note slur followed by staccato notes. So again, how did I get a really nice artistic phrase shape? Well, what I did was I made sure that my wrist was flexible, and I also lifted my wrist in various places so that I could shape the phrase. So let's do the opposite. Let's make every staccato note the same sound as well as the same duration and length. Ooh, that is really an unattractive sound, right? It's like little sledgehammers going down to the bottom of the keys. But instead, do you notice that the second staccato note I played, my wrist was further up in the air than the first staccato note? And it gives that nice tapering of the phrase. And I'll do it again for the second measure, and then the third measure. The longest finger is the third finger. So why don't we roll our wrist towards the third finger and then continue rolling our wrist around like it's going over a hill, like I said before. And then for the last note, which is a straight quarter note without a staccato in it, the student can drop to the bottom of the keys. The next line. So it's all about flexibility in the wrist and shifting weight so that there is always a beautiful shape to the phrase. So now the next piece I'd like to play is Kitten Play, and this is out of Festival Collection Book 1. In this particular piece, the staccato notes are much more static. It's almost like a kitten is watching a ball hanging from a string. And the kitten is watching the ball moving back and forth like this from side to side. So in this piece, we do want the staccato notes to be more similar in sound as well as in duration. So this piece by Gurlitt is wonderful because there are crescendos as well as decrescendos throughout it. So when I'm playing those two staccato notes that are crescendoing, again, I lift my wrist higher for the second one to make it a bigger sound. So if your students are playing with a very dull staccato sound where it's too sticky like this, that means that their arms are way too heavy. Always teach our students that the sound, or actually the physical gesture of a staccato, is actually an up motion. So besides thinking about a woodpecker tapping a tree, we can also tell our students, think about what it would be like to pop a balloon. It's the same motion where the hand, wrist, and forearm work together as one. Popping popcorn is also a good image. So let's not say to our students, oh, imagine that the keys are a stovetop and it's hot, because what will that do when students are trying to play staccato? It's going to get them to feel really tight because they're afraid of the instrument, and it's going to lock their arms up. So again, we want them to feel natural and healthy at the keyboard. So the next piece I'd like to play for you is Raindrops on My Roof. This is a terrific staccato piece by Kevin Olson. It's found in Recital Throughout the Year, Book 3. You can also find it in Recital Solos, the best of in Recital Solos. So in this piece, he has very classically based 4-bar phrases. And you'll notice that I'm going to put a small emphasis on the downbeat of every third measure. This will help the feeling of nuance as well as great forward direction. What a wonderful piece this is. I think you might notice that instead of feeling like my staccatos go down and then up, I'm actually brushing the staccato notes toward my body. So what does that do for the sound? It certainly makes it a little bit quieter, which I want, as well as the ability to shape a phrase. So that's another interpretation of the piece, right? The staccato notes are much more crisp, and my physical gesture goes more up in the space above the keys. So that's just interpretive license, right? And I actually like the first one better. But you can choose whichever one you like for your students. The next piece I'm going to play for you is The Bear, which is from Festival Collection Book 2. The piece was written by Rebikoff. There are two ways to interpret the left-hand octaves. We could have both Fs to be equally strong, like that. Or we could have the left hand be strong only on the fifth fingers. So it's really up to us, the teachers, as well as our students, which interpretation they like better. The right hand is full of tenuto markings, so we could call them big, sticky woodpeckers. Why not? So in the middle of the piece, I'm going to change my interpretation in the left hand, and you can decide which one you like better. So one word about broken octaves. We want our students to never stretch or reach for any keys. So let's have our students feel a very nice, big rotation gesture. So we don't want them to play like this, where they're stretching and reaching for keys, because that will just tighten them up, and they will never be able to play with good clarity or with a faster tempo. Okay, so now I'd like to play for you Kameranskaya, which is a Russian dance by Tchaikovsky. This is found in the Festival Collection Book 3. One of my students was playing this piece last year, and he would come in and he would sing da 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 da. It was pretty funny. And then the right hand is the hand that has staccato notes throughout. You'll notice I'm going to play very close to the keys so that I can have clarity as well as speed. Now I'd like to play for you a bridge section in Weber's Grand Duo Concertante for clarinet and piano. In this particular bridge section, you're going to hear me and see me play lots of very big, heavy woodpecker touch releases. So in this way, students can really see the gamut of how these staccato physical gestures can be used in so many different kinds of repertoire. Until next time, happy teaching and happy playing.